everyone. Welcome to the Community Science Storytelling Spotlight, a space where we uplift the voices of our clients, community members, and partners to showcase their incredible work and to also illustrate how collaborative evaluation can strengthen mission-driven organizations while also amplifying community impact. My name is Faith Garnett. I'm a strategist and an analyst here at Community Science, where I integrate conflict resolution, cross-cultural insight, and strategic communication to help organizations navigate complexity and design equitable, data-driven solutions. For those new to us, Community Science is an award-winning research and development organization that partners with governments, foundations, and nonprofits to advance solutions to social problems through community and systems change, fostering learning, and building capacity for social impact. Today, I am absolutely thrilled to be joined by Jessie Tartanian, who is the Director of Data and Evaluation for Family League of Baltimore. Family League of Baltimore works collaboratively to support data-informed and community-driven solutions that align resources to dismantle the systemic barriers which limit the possibilities for children, families, and communities. Jessie has been a key thought partner in this work, and we're excited to learn more about how Family League's approach to data and collaboration is shaping meaningful and material change through its partnerships and community work. Jessie, thank you again for joining me.
My pleasure. I'm so glad to.
So I always like to begin these conversations by grounding in who our partners are and the communities they work alongside. For those who might be unfamiliar, can you tell us a bit about Family League of Baltimore and the communities you serve? And as part of that, I'd also love for you to share a bit about yourself and just thinking about what brought you to this work and what continues to sustain you in it.
Sure. Well, Family League of Baltimore is the local management board for Baltimore City, which means that we are stewards of city and state dollars, and we work to get those funds in the hands of community-based organizations who are doing work in a variety of different fields, including perinatal health and school readiness, youth development, especially out of school time programming, and in what we call interagency or family support work, where we work with supporting organizations that are working with families and opportunity youth to reconnect to school and work and to be economically stable. And my role is I'm the director of data and evaluation here at Family League. And I've been an evaluator for almost 20 years. And this work, coming home to work in Baltimore, has been a real privilege for me. I love getting to work with our big, diverse portfolio, lots of different kinds of community organizations, working with people of all ages here in Baltimore City to reduce racial disparities in health outcomes and educational outcomes, and just make sure that everybody gets the chance to thrive. So the project that we worked on with Community Science, we worked specifically with that opportunity youth organization, specifically our Thriving Youth investment, where organizations are working to connect young people back with school or work.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for introducing yourself, but also sharing a little bit about Family League of Baltimore and your approach, the work that you do, and your vision for this city in Baltimore. We both live and enjoy being here. And also just, hearing that you've been in evaluation for decades, can you help us just maybe set the context a little bit for what it means to be engaged in this collaborative evaluation support, specifically, what challenges or opportunities led Family League of Baltimore to work with Community Science, and what were you all hoping to achieve through this partnership?
Sure. Yeah, I've worked with a lot of evaluators and both external and internal who are looking at programs and trying to assess how is it going, what are the gaps, what can we share about what's working, how do we want to advocate, how can we use our data to actually make important decisions. And it's something I'm really proud of to be a part of Family League, because Family League doesn't let the data sit on the shelf. We are daily using both the numbers and the stories behind them to help make those important decisions, advocate for our partners, and promote the practices that work according to those who have the experience in the field. So we were really looking to deepen our understanding of what makes our Thriving Youth investment actually work and have an important impact with young people and their families in Baltimore. And we wanted to see what gaps there were in their performance. Where are the barriers to being able to actually achieve what they're setting out to achieve, and what resources, would help us meet that gap. And what we really wanted was to come out of an evaluation process with that depth of understanding and collecting more primary data from the staff and youth in these programs to help us understand in their own words what really works about this, what makes, because we can see that it's making a difference, but we wanted to know what is it about how they're functioning that that really makes that happen. And what do they need? What are the barriers they're experiencing from their own perspectives, so that we know that we are investing in the right things, and that when we're talking to people in power and people who hold purse strings, we're advocating for the right investments and the right programmatic shifts. We also we wanted to come out with a piece of collateral that we could take on the road and share really widely with community stakeholders here in Baltimore, with national stakeholders who want to replicate similar programming, reconnecting youth with work and school, and supporting youth and families to remove the barriers that keep them from being able to do those. And we wanted to make sure that we have some guideposts about, okay, here's what works. And when we are bringing on a new partner into our grantees, helping them understand, okay, here's what we've seen from our other grantees that works well, and using that as like training ground, so that the folks that are in that grantee cohort can really work as a community of learning, and a community of practice where they can support each other to do this work.
That's so wonderful to hear, and so comprehensive the way that you answered it. One, just thinking about the approach to evaluation and even to data collection, but two, some of the tangible and material things that you were looking to gain out of a partnership with community science, ultimately partnered in what the communities say that they need and want to see happen, and bringing them those things as a result of that. So thank you for explaining that.
Absolutely.
I'm curious, what stood out to you about community science's approach to this evaluation support, whether that be in process, style, or even how we engaged with your team? And ultimately, I think the intention behind this question is, how did we help you to help your constituents and those that you serve, your communities that are receiving funding, technical assistance, and other support from you all as an organization?
Well, I cannot sing the praises of the community science team enough. I have shared this with the team, but I've worked with a lot of evaluators in my career, and this is my favorite project that I've ever worked on, and that is really owing to the community science approach and the team. So what's really unique about the approach is how deeply collaborative it is from the get-go, and how cared for we felt as the people setting the contract. There was so little pressure on my end or my team's end to manage communication, update deadlines, make sure that we were on the same page about deliverables, check in with progress, course correct for progress. I didn't have to drive that bus for once, which was awesome. It really left me free to do my other project work between meetings and fully focus on meaning making and that shared meaning making and collaborating on the data deliverables at each meeting that we had. I also usually have to push hard for collaborative meaning making, where we look at a data deliverable, say like a logic model or a draft of a survey or a draft of an interview script or a focus group protocol. But that's how the community science team rolled. We get into those meetings and go line by line and look together and say, okay, what strikes you as, this is working well? What do you want to change about it? We have specific questions. Would you rather it look like this or this? And we were always given the opportunity to review ahead of time, so we were ready for those conversations.
Yeah.
But the depth of collaboration was really special. Another special thing about working with this team is that I just had the overwhelming experience every meeting that these were the right people to have in the room. both in the research room and in the data collection room. Data collection wise, there's a true commitment to having the data collection process be not just like not harmful, but positive, helpful, like an opportunity for self-reflection, an opportunity for community building and celebration, not to mention like have some food together. There was I was consistently just so impressed by how they approached being with the staff and community partners and the participants of the Thriving Youth programs. And all of the program staff had the same to say as well. It wasn't just about establishing safety and getting good data. It was really about having it be a truly positive experience for everyone. And when we were in the sort of in the research room, when we were, collaborating together, it was so clear how just how sharp the team is. They are seeing, they could pull out insights because of their educational, experiential, lived experiences that were so impressive to see a team that deeply knew their stuff and understood our programs well. Oftentimes working with evaluators, I feel like they understand sort of the basics of how the programs work and how we as the funder and the capacity builder support them. But it's hard to wrap your head around like, oh, this is an unusual funder. They're a quasi-governmental organization providing both capacity building, programmatic support, and investment. That's odd. And trying to, get their heads all the way around, what each of the programs do and how they're different from each other and the specific context of the work in Baltimore City in each neighborhood and what makes them different from each other. This team, if that was challenging, they didn't show it because we felt very understood from the get-go. And they asked, when there was a difference between, how something maybe was presented or their initial assumption and then what they looked at later, the questions were so insightful. So that was a real point of departure from past teams too. I know that I'm saying a lot about this, but I would be really remiss if I didn't say that the writing on this report is exceptional. And it's not just good technical writing. It's not just, that they did a great job of synthesizing the work and expressing it and, with recommendations that we really can use. All of that is true, but I was expecting that. I was hoping for that. What I didn't know that I could hope for was writing that has the emotional depth to help the reader understand why this work matters as much as it does. It wasn't just painting a picture of like the gap in services or the impact of the program, but there's just the writing is beautiful and carries an emotional tenor that helps actually get across why it matters so deeply to staff, partners, and the participants, the youth that are in this program. And being able to express the themes in the qualitative data in youth's own words I really think it was like there are some strokes of genius there, and you can feel the commitment come through.
Wow. Well, Jessie, I'm just overwhelmed by all of this feedback and just how it has supported you in your role specifically, but also your organization and ultimately the communities that you serve. I'm hearing sort of just this human-centered, heart-centered approach coming out of what you're sharing and really being a partner to you all in this work, and just, hearing about the streamlined and the efficiency, but also breaking bread together and just really thinking about that juxtaposed with some of the other things that you hear about evaluation, particularly from a negative perspective, when those who have had harmful experience talk about, feeling that their information was extracted and then they were left with really nothing to support them in their needs. And so just hearing the way that community science has shown up for you all is so rewarding. And I want to now just zoom us out a little bit to think about community outcomes and impact. And so I guess with this question, I'm curious to know from your purview, what changes, outcomes, or even new possibilities, whether they be tangible results or even shifts in thinkings, thinking about mental models, for example, have emerged as a result of this work, or do you anticipate emerging as a result of this work, especially as you start to disseminate that report that you referenced?
Yeah. So we are developing our plan for our road show, taking the report on the road, and that has kicked off. I've done our internal meeting making, and next comes our work with our board and with the partners and the participants, and that celebratory moment with them, and then conferences. So, and we'll also use it for legislative session for testimony with legislators as well. So some of the big things that are coming out of it in terms of mental models, one of the themes that emerged was that youth need support, not surveillance. And that's not an earth-shattering idea for someone in my line of work, but to express it so perfectly, that's a phrase that we're going to be using from here on out. And I think that one of the things that has been will be materially different is that something we heard in the evaluation is that what we thought of as grant makers, as a cohort of grantees, they didn't really feel like they were getting to have that kind of cohort relationship even 5 years into this investment. And it was really important for us to hear that at Family League, it's our responsibility to give them more opportunities for networking and, cross-pollinating and letting them work together and share what's working, host events together, and us giving them more time in the room together so that they can do more support and share, okay, here's something that worked for us, maybe could work for you. We're having this event, we'd like your youth to attend. Here's something we're struggling with. What have you found is supportive here? And we're not able to cover this part of the city or this part of the need we can't meet, but you seem to have resources and referrals that we could support. So can we do cross referrals? So that cohort model is a big focus for this year's programmatic support of our Thriving Youth partners. And we're bringing on a new Thriving Youth partner this year, which is very exciting. And they'll be using this report as a little bit of a training guide and as, a document that they can refer to over and over again about, okay, here's what we know works. And here's where some of the gaps are. Let's see how we can meet the gaps and how we can take advantage of these promising practices that are spelled out here. Additionally, we are really looking forward to using this to, in the Baltimore City, in the mayor's office, in the Office of Accountability, sorry, not the Office of Accountability, that's the district. The Office of, it's got a new name. I think it's called Performance and Innovation, but it basically the Data Informed Work Office at the mayor's office. They have a coalition of folks that are funded by the city that are working together. They're all data workers called YouthStat, and those collaborative tables are starting to have meetings where they're looking at, okay, how can we be using data? How can we collaborate on data and be pooling data in a hub and making important decisions based on it? And in a recent YouthStat meeting, one of the things they asked ahead of the meeting was, okay, what are some of the barriers that y'all are seeing in terms of helping youth reconnect with work and school? What are the big barriers for youth who are trying to reconnect? And we had answers in the youth's own words ready for that. So we were able to bring the report as a part of that meeting and share, here's what our partners and the youth are saying are the big barriers. Here's what would make the biggest difference. Flexible funding for barrier removal for things like IDs and transportation, and having work opportunities that are a sure bet where they can get the practice of being in a professional environment, and coaching and mentorship that help them be able to not just apply for those jobs, because that's sort of where it stops a lot of the time, but to get them, keep them, succeed in them. And also advocating for more additional support, training, and funding for the workers who are, pouring their hearts into this work, so that they don't, and supporting them so that they don't experience too much fatigue with this, this extremely mission-driven and very, very human work that they're doing. So those are some of the material changes that we're looking at this year based on the report.
Absolutely. And one, congratulations on being able to expand your offering to another organization. Yes, that's awesome. I think everything that you shared points back to one of your first statements around really using research in a way that helps to create positive material change in communities and not just letting it live on some shelf or off and disconnected in some ivory tower, but really real and applicable. And in that spirit of collaboration and partnership, I'm wondering with this final question as we close out, what's one thing that you might, or piece of advice that you might share with another foundation or an organization considering similar evaluation or even strategy development work?
Well, I cannot recommend community science enough. So if you're already contracted with community science, congrats. You can look forward to an awesome experience. And I would say that in any evaluation work together, I think one thing that we learned was setting our a realistic scope. We had to our scope had to accordion a little bit because of timing, but I think community science is very, very nimble in being able to say, okay, well, if we have limited time and resources, which means where do we need to focus? Is it primary data collection or is it analysis of the secondary data? What's going to make the biggest difference for you? And we were able to shift and say it's the primary data collection. That's what's really missing. And we want to be able to express in the youth's own words what makes the difference for them and what would make the difference for them. So that kind of that focus and ability to pivot, I think is really important. So I would lean into being flexible about as your evaluation plan shifts, and you learn more about what you do need and what resources you have. And then I would say leave time at the end of the planning to take advantage of community science ability to support with dissemination and sharing the work. That's something that we ran out of time on a little bit, but we've been able to get really great advice from community science about what a dissemination plan that is thoughtful and really make sure that we get the data into everyone's hands who need it and want it. And I'm really grateful for that. So I would say leave a little extra room for your roadshow.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. It's refreshing to hear sort of what's working well and how the support that we've offered has really been useful to Family League of Baltimore, and then again just bleeding out into the communities as well, who are able to benefit from the work that you all are leading, especially thinking about the youth, right, and making sure that their voices and perspective, their lived experience is really at the forefront in terms of the language and even the recommendations and advice that's being shared and disseminated. It has been a true pleasure sharing this space with you, Jessie. Thank you for giving so generously of your time and for offering such thoughtful reflections of the work and of the communities in Baltimore that you all are serving. We are, again, just very grateful for this partnership.
Oh, me too. It's been an absolute delight, and I look forward to being friends in the work.
Wonderful. Thank you.